Okay, so for this video, what we're going to do is show you how to create a cover sheet for your Sterling Cooper project to be handed in for your final assignment. So going to our assignment instructions, here's the cover sheet information here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to create an 11 by 7 sheet, which is actually a 22 by 34 printed at 50%. And then any of the fonts and the layout of the sheet is up to you. And should have the following information: a three-dimensional perspective, should have this information in text, and then a drawing, I guess a sheet index, which I'm going to use, which you can either write out just as simple text, lines of text, or as I'm going to show you here a little bit later, is to create a schedule for your drawings. Alright, so let's go to our Revit project. So here's our Revit project. Alright, so the first thing we want to do, so step one, is load in the blank cover sheet title block. So if you go down here, so the way we normally create new sheets in Revit is I go down into my browser, right click, say new sheet, and I pick out one of our title blocks on here. The one I want to do, what I want to pick out is the 22 by is called cover sheet here. Now I've already got this loaded in. You guys don't have this loaded in yet, so let me show you how to load it in and where to find it. The first place to find it is on Blackboard. So here's Blackboard for our class, and it's under today's lecture, which is lecture 22. Alright, so there it is there on Blackboard, coversheet.rfa, so it's a family file. The other place to find it then is also on the shared drive, which is on our computers. Here's our hard drive. Shared drive, which is the S drive. Under instructors, exclamation point instructors. Under my folder, Breaker-McMeyer. And then cover sheet. And notice there's another cover sheet there in there. So, alright, so those are the two places to find it. Alright, so to do that, so I went in and let me just kind of start over again. I'm going to go to Sheets, right click, New Sheet. I had to go to load in my new cover sheet. And let me take it from the shared drive. So I go to the shared drive, instructors, the Breaker-McMeyer folder, cover sheet, and then select that family and to load it in. Alright, say OK. And then voila. So it opens it up, so it loads it into here. So now I have the choice of cover sheet. So I'm going to hit cover sheet and hit OK. Alright, so there it is. So there's my cover sheet. And that's all it is. It's basically a 22 by 34 inch box, basically a rectangle. So 34 by 22. Alright, so there it is. Okay, so the first thing it said here on the Word file is to put in a three-dimensional perspective view of the building. Alright, so I'm going to take one of my perspective views that I've got already, and I'm going to drop it into the project. So let's see here. Alright, I'm going to do that one. Alright, so notice when I drop this on there, it gives me this warning sheet. This sheet is already placed on a sheet, blah, 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 blah. You can only, so the rule in Revit is that you can only drop one view onto a sheet, or you can only drop a view onto a sheet one time. Alright, so if I already have this view on a sheet, which is more than likely you guys will for your 3D perspectives, you can't place it on a sheet again. So let me show you the workaround to do that. So I want to put this view on there, so all I'm going to do is duplicate it, and then give it a new name and call it cover sheet 2. So I'm going to say right click, duplicate view. So now there's a new copy of it. I'm going to say actually duplicating with detail because I'm not really sure how much detail I have on it. So I'm going to say duplicate with detailing. Alright, so it created a copy. So it created a copy of it. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename that cover sheet 2, since I already have a cover sheet. So cover, caps. Alright, so to get around the whole one view on one sheet deal is just duplicate your views, and then now I can add this new sheet, or new view, cover sheet 2, onto my perspective. So I drag and drop, so we'll pull it over. Alright, and there it is. Alright, so what you may find is like, okay, well this is a pretty big view, or you may find that, wow, that's a really small view. But the thing you may want to do with your cover sheet is to resize that view. Alright, to make it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller or whatever. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the view. Alright, and this is actually good to know because we're going to create that G102, which is the views from the northeast, southeast, and northwest. So this is how you resize that view. So I click the view, And up here it says size crop on the ribbon. That's where I want to go. All right, so I go to size crop. All right, and the thing you want to see here, though, this is how big the image is right now. All right, and I've got two choices here. Do I want to change the field of view, or do I want to change the scale? All right, the one I want to do is to change the scale, because if I change the field of view, all that does is change that box around it. So for example, if I want to do a width of 36 inches, all right, this is what field of view will do. Let's say apply, and it just makes the view a little bit wider, right? So that's not what I want. I actually want to resize it. So I want to say scale, and it'll lock those proportions. And 24 inches wide is a bit big, so let's say 18 inches wide. And I'll say OK, and it automatically resizes that. So you only have to change one of them, and it'll automatically resize the other one. So I'm going to say OK, and it shrinks it down then to that. All right, so there's my 3D perspective view. It's a decent size, maybe a little too small, but the other thing too is you can either, this is optional, if you want to have this little title here that says cover sheet 2 on or off, it doesn't really matter to me, but let me show you how to, if you want to turn it off, let me show you how to do that. So select the view, and then go over to the type selector. Oops. Oh, will I do it here? Sorry, hang on. I have it selected. Maybe that's how you do it. Well, let me see here. Okay, view, viewport 1. Well, I guess you could go with, you can go to edit type. Let's try that. Edit type. And under title, you could say none. And then show extension line, just uncheck that. And it'll go away. Hmm? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. All right. So there. So anyways, yeah, you can get rid of it that way or the other way. And then, so there's your 3D perspective view. And then the other thing that you need to put on there is this information here. Sterling Cooper Media, Oak Street offices, Austin, Texas, November 21st. This is which is when it's due. Your name, drafting 2428, architectural commercial drafting, and then our school, and then fall of 2013. All this stuff can be done with dumb text. So what I'm going to do is go to here. All right, for this one, though, you may find that you're going to have to create a couple different fonts. You're going to have to create a couple new fonts. So I'm going to go to Annotate. I'm going to go to Text. All right, and I'm just going to do Text Without Leader. And maybe I want to do the Align to Center. All right, and I'm just going to write out Sterling Cooper Media Oak Street Office in all caps. All right, so that's in 1/8 scale. All right, so what I did is I created a couple new fonts at 1 inch. Let's try 1 inch. I have a 3/4 of an inch, maybe. Yep, 3/4 of an inch. All right, so you can pick different sizes of text. You can create different sizes of text in order to get the right size that fits pretty well and looks pretty big on there. All right, let me show you real quick how to create a different text size. All right, so it's basically like creating a different wall or a new window or something like that, where you go to Edit Type. So I'm going to pick this font here, and I'm going to go to Edit Type. All right, and I want to create a new font or new text. So I'm going to go to Duplicate, and let's call this one just Fancy Font. All right, and I'm going to say OK. So that's my new name. And the height of that, I'm going to go to Text Size to create the new height, and I'm going to call this one 5/8. So it's going to be 5/8 of an inch tall. All right. And so when this is printed at full size, it'll be 5/8 of an inch tall. That's basically all that means. So it's a little bit taller. Then the font, you can pick any font you want. So if you don't want Arial, you don't have to. So I'm going to pick the little drop-down menu. There's one called City Blueprint that kind of looks like lettering. Let's see, where is that one? City, there it is. City Blueprint, that's another font. And maybe make the line weight a little bit heavier. Go to 3. All right, and then hit OK. And then so you can create different fonts, create different sizes. All right, so this one's called Fancy Font, so that's the one I just created, the new one. But basically what you're going to do is just dumb text, write all that information out, the class name, the school, your name, all that good stuff. Place it anywhere you want on the drawing sheet. Then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to create a schedule of those drawings. So here's our drawing index. All right, and this is basically what I want it to say and how I want it to say that information. So I want you to actually start with the G101, G102, SP101, A101, so on and so forth, right? So you can either write that out with just simple text, or you can create a drawing sheet schedule. All right, so to do that, what I'm going to do, and let me show you kind of what it looks like when you finish it. All right, so it'll look like this. Basically, it'll look like a schedule with sheets in it. All right, so let me go back to the one we're creating. Okay, so to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the View tab, and I'm going to go to where you create your schedules, your door window schedules, and all that kind of stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to a sheet list. All right, so I go to Sheet List. All right, so I'm under the View tab, under Schedules, and I go to Sheet List. All right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to pick what type of sheet list we're going to do, and the two categories that I want in here are going to be the sheet number and sheet name. All right, and that's the only two I want for right now. All right, then all I do is hit OK, and it creates that schedule for me. So I've got this A101, blah 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 blah. Okay, so then. And let's call this one, I'll call this one Sterling Cooper, oops, sorry, capitalize, Sterling Cooper sheet list. All right, so that should be listed under my, schedules. So if I go to schedules, there it is, Sterling Cooper sheet list. I can drag it and drop it and place it onto my sheet. Okay, and then once I select it, see how it's a little narrow here, but I can spread this thing out a little bit by selecting it and looking for these little upside down triangles, and I can grab those and pull them out and stretch the schedule so it fits a little bit better on that sheet. All right, so the first thing you'll see here is I've got my sheets on there, and I've got the sheet names, but I don't have them in the same order. I want them actually in the actual order here: G101, G102, SP103. All right, so there really isn't a good. Well, let me go back to actually the drawing file, and let me edit the schedule. All right, so I'm back in the schedule. Now you can sort and group these things, sorting and grouping, and you can sort it and group by sheet name or sheet number. Well, there really isn't a good way of organizing these sheets. You can't really do it alphabetically, right? Because it starts with G101 and G102. So the best way to do it is I'm going to create a dummy parameter. All right, I'm going to create a dummy parameter that's basically I'm going to call sheet order. All right, so what I do is I'm going to go back to fields. All right, so this is where I added in sheet number and sheet name, and I'm going to go add parameters. So I'm going to create a new parameter, and I'm going to call this order. It's basically going to I'm going to call it order. Sorry. All right, and that's going to be just numbers. Okay, so I'm going to call it order, and I'm going to call it numbers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to assign each sheet a number. So the sheet I want on the top of the list, I'm going to call number 1. The sheet I want at the bottom of the list, I'll call 10, 12, or whatever. So I'm going to number each of these sheets in the order I want them to show up. Then I'm going to sort and group by this parameter called order. All right, so let me show you how to do that. So okay, I've got order on there.
Where did you added order?
Yeah, so I went to, all right, so I'm in my, I'm editing my list here. I go back to fields. So on the properties dialog box, I went to edit fields, and then add parameter, and then created a new parameter. Made sure that my type of parameter though was numbers, because I'm going to give it a number, each sheet a number, right? So I called it order, and then I called this number, and so that was that. All right, so now I've got order here. All right, so what I want to do is then give each one of these a value. All right, so G101 was the first, G102 was the second, SP 1.1, which doesn't look like I have created yet, would be number 3. Number 4 would be A101, and then 5, so on and so forth. So let me then, so once you're finished doing all that, so once you've given each one a rank, then you go back down over here to sorting and grouping, and you can go sort by order, and then say OK. And so what it does is then it starts putting these all into order. So now what's 102 was next, then 103 is after that, so I'll give that a 6. And notice it drops down to the bottom of the list. Alright, and then let's see, that was 103, then 201, 202, 301, 302, 401, 501. Alright, so now all I have left are these other residual sheets. These are a couple of sheets that I've created, and I don't want these to show up. So let's call this one a XXX. Alright, so I've got these 3 here, and what I want to do is filter these guys out so they don't show up in this list anymore. Alright, so the best way to filter those out is with the filter over here. So I'm back over on the properties. I'm going to filter out AXX, AX, and AXXX. So I go to filter. Alright, filter by, we're going to go sheet number contains an X. Actually, does not contain, sorry, does not contain. Alright, so what it's going to do is filter out anything that has an X in it. I'm going to say OK, and then it filters out all those ones. So I put in an AX for those sheets that had a that I didn't want in there. So I had to find like a common, I had to give it a common denominator, so in order to sort it out, to get it to filter out those guys. So what I did is put the letter X in its sheet number, and then was able to go to filter and then say sheet number does not contain X, and that filters out all of those X sheets.
So like our code plans, since they're in our files,
Yeah.
filter those out.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So filter those out. So temporarily you could put an X at the end of them. So what, like if your code plan is A,
Like 106, then just put an X at the end.
yeah, that'll filter it out then. So long as it has a X somewhere in that sheet number, that'll filter it out. Then once you're finished, then you can take out that X and it'll pop back into their sheet list. Does that make sense? So okay, so that's basically it to creating that sheet list. It's optional if you want to get rid of order. If you can hide that, you can hide any one of these columns that you want. So to hide that, basically what you do is you select it, and then you go up here to, will I do it? No. You have to right click, hide column. Oops, hide column. All right, so basically to hide that column, what I did is I selected order up here, I right click, and then said hide column, and that disappears. That's if you want it to disappear. That's optional. You can have order on there if you want. I was just trying to keep it clean, so I put order on there. So let me go to my cover sheet again. So here is my cover sheet. There's my sheet list. It's got the order in it, and it's got the sheet name, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, there you go. That's a good way to do it. Yeah. So if you sort it by order, you have order in there, right? And you give everyone an order, and then you filter it out by order, then it'll filter out everything that doesn't have a number. So let me do that. Okay, here's order. Let me bring back my X sheets, and I'm going to edit this schedule here. Edit schedule. Then if I go to filter by order, and then greater than 0. Okay, so greater than 0. Alright, now these 3 don't have a number, so they're not greater than 0, I guess, and it filters them out. So it can filter them out that way. And then hide that column. So that, yeah, that's a good.
We just don't give it a number.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and that'll actually then that way you don't have to do that. Yeah, yeah, you don't have to add exits to your ADA sheets.
Okay, so that was filter,
So yeah, that's a good one.
filter and flow,
Yeah.
and figure.
All right, so that is your cover sheet. So that's basically it. When your cover sheet is finished, it'll look something like this. Only it'll fit much better on the sheet. Oops. This is another one. I just use a different font and a different kind of layout on there. Um, things like that. Here's the other one I created. I just need to shrink this down a little bit so it fits on the page a little bit better, but just kind of organizing it. But when you're finished, it should look something like that. All right. So any questions on that? On the yeah. Oh, all you do is the sheet list will be under your schedules. Oops. There you are. Schedules and quantities, and it should say something like sheet list, whatever you want to name it. And then all you have to do is just drag it and drop it onto your sheet, and then it'll fit. All right. Any other questions? No. This good question. None that I know of. If you can find it, I'd like to know. But yeah, yeah, I know that on here. I know you can change the size of the font. So if you go down to appearance, yeah, let's try it. So let's change it all to a half-inch Arial. All right, so let's see what it looks like on the sheet. There you go. Yeah, just use bigger fonts. You just have to spread it out a little bit more. All right, so let me hit stop on that one.